Good evening, everybody. You can kind of start to move into your seats. If you want to sit down, I'd appreciate that. I want to say hello to everybody that's online with us. This is being live cast onto the Facebook page that we have for the fire, Aspen Acres Fire 2026. The live presentation will be recorded and kept on that page for folks who don't have the time to watch it tonight. Somebody who may miss something can go back and play through it. On that, we'll be capturing questions and comments from the folks that aren't here in the audience, and so that will be available as a recording. We also have a simulcast in Spanish going. We have a Spanish interpreter doing that for us. That too will live on. I know recorded on the on Spaniel page of the fire. For those here in the audience, we'll get ourselves through the presentation. I've got quite the lineup of speakers here from the team. We've got the incident meteorologist. We have our fire behavior analyst. We've got somebody from operations. We've got a representative from the San Isabel Electric. Those are pretty much the people that we're all here and want to hear what's having to say. We want to know what the weather is. We want to know what's going on with the fire. We'd like to hear something from the electric company. Many folks, many properties are still without electricity. We have Sheriff, I practice these names, Sheriff Lucero, who's going to have a talk to us. He's sheriff right here in Pueblo. We may have a couple other counties here join us. We'll see if they make it in here. We have a representative from the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, a couple of representatives from the Forest Service that'll talk to us, the incident commander from the Alaska Incident Management Team will close us out. Actually, he'll be the last informative one. I'll end it here talking to you just as we wrap up the evening for the Facebook presentation, the live broadcast, all right? And then we'll have a little more time to spend with you. We'll gather out in the atrium, and we have a lot of maps on the walls out there. I've got several subject matter experts for you to talk to and ask your questions of, all right? So I think we're ready to get going. This is Trent Smith, incident meteorologist. Where'd he go?
Good evening, everybody. Trent Smith, the incident meteorologist assigned to the Aspen Acres fire. I'm one of two. My colleague, she's still back at camp, keeping an eye on the radar and providing any services there. Tonight, I'll quickly be going over the weather that's been occurring here in the past 6 months, how we got to this situation, kind of comparing it to the Oak Ridge fire that happened in 2024, and then wrapping up with the weather that occurred during the fire start, and then what we're anticipating over the next 7 to 10 days. So right up here on the TV monitor to my right. This is actually temperature readings at the co-op from the co-op observer in Rye themselves, indicating the temperatures going back January through current. As you probably are well aware, that you've had an extremely warm winter and spring. It's gone down as the third warmest winter, and then the warmest springs, surpassing the 1981 spring, which was the previous winter. Next slide. This is the precipitation and snowfall at that Rye observer was seeing. On average, Rye gets about 86 inches of snow per year. So far, the accumulation was only like 39.6, so half of what's normally seen. As you're well aware, and as from being from the west here, we've had a horrible snowpack, some of the most historic low snowpacks we've ever seen. By April 1st, we were half of the snow minimum of previous records going back to the mid-1980s. So again, just that try to really perspective of how bad the snowpack really was. Next slide. So with the warmth, with the dry, it's no surprise that we are in severe to extreme drought in the communities that was affected by this fire. Next slide. So the Oak Ridge fire started in late June of 2024. It was a fairly warm, dry start. This is the weather, what we call the weather matrix, so kind of a weather forecast that another incident meteorologist put together during the start of that fire. It was warm and dry, but then some monsoonal rain came in, or quite a bit of moisture from the southwest moved into the area, bringing some pretty wet precipitations. But the warm and dry before was relatively short, but again, it was dry enough to get a good start. Humidities, especially the mountaintops, was getting down into the low 20s to upper teens with some decent wind associated with it. But once that started, then the precip really started to move into the area. Next slide. So we actually have an automated weather observation site in the town of Beulah. And I just tried to capture the afternoon relative humidities and winds. In the upper left corner is from June 28th. During that afternoon, the humidity was getting down into 7% with wind gusts over 30 miles per hour. So just really hot, dry conditions just coming off the wet mountain range down into Beulah. And then you could see that again in the bottom, or in the upper right is the 29th. That single digit humidities, relative humidities with the winds stayed going until the early morning hours, up until about 2 a.m. time frame. So a really long period. You can see that again on July 1st, which is the bottom left, and then on July 2nd into the 3rd was the last big dry, windy day. So we call these red flag days each afternoon. So just warm, dry conditions just hitting this area day after day. Next slide. So this is the current forecast that we're looking at starting today, moving forward for the next 7 days. It's been pretty warm, dry. We've been having the typical afternoon convection, which has been causing a lot of issues, producing outflow boundaries. So over the past 2 to 3 days, we've just been dealing with variable winds coming from all directions, impacting different parts of the fire at different times. We are looking at a monsoonal moisture coming into the area starting tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday time frame. So the shower activity, we're hoping to get a little bit more precipitation out of it. It's going to be hit and miss. But if we can get a good cell to go over the fire, it wouldn't be unheard of to see a quarter, maybe a half an inch of rain fall. So, but we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Once that monsoonal moisture moves out, come this weekend, we're going to go right back to the hot, dry, windy conditions. It does not appear to be as strong of winds, but that monsoonal moisture is going to kind of move out of the area, and we're going to be dealing with what we've been occurring here in the last 24 to 48 hours. If you have any questions, feel free to seek me out after the presentation. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. My name's Eric Trimble, a fire behavior analyst. I believe our incident meteorologist, Trent, did a pretty good job of framing the weather conditions that basically is leading up to what we are dealing with now, and also framing the future conditions, and then into the current and future conditions. I'm going to start off with just kind of framing the issue at hand by giving you an overview of the fuel conditions, which is an extremely important part of the fire behavior, as well as topography and, of course, the weather and the winds. And this is noticed as a energy release component chart. It's basically fire in the fire world we use this quite readily to essentially assess conditions on fuel dryness. It's an indirect measure of our fuel profile, to say, particularly in the heavier fuels, the conifers pretty much, and even the deciduous aspen. And what I wanted to show is essentially where we are at when this fire started and where we're at now, and then we got a forecast where the ERCs are going to be. As you can see here, the 97th percentile, first of all, to explain these lines, the 97th, I should say the red is the max that this weather station has recorded for the last 20 years, and this down here is the average for this area. And so what we're sitting at is that this fire started essentially June 29th on a day that was about the 95th percentile. As you could see, it just ramped up. Of course, we had very strong west-southwest winds, which of course basically took the dry fuels. When I'm talking dry fuels, I'm talking single-digit fuel moisture, single-digit RH, 20, 30 mile an hour winds. Of course, single-digit fuels is basically like kiln-dry lumber. Is that dry and is that receptive to any kind of fire start out there? Our probabilities of ignitions, even since we've been on this, have been above 90%. So 90% of the embers are basically igniting spot fires ahead of itself. That's how volatile the conditions have been. So moving up, we say we had our major fire runs, obviously that first day and night, and it kept ramping up in here. In the next several days, it peaked out, and we did get a little bit of we didn't get much rain. It's not showing rain. It's just showing a little bit of reduction. Higher humidities. We're starting to get a little bit more humidity recovery at night. So that's why it's dropping down into this average level. But then we just ramp right back up with these warmer weather. And we're sitting here right here at the 97th percentile today. And we are going to drop a little bit in the next few days. And it's because we do have like a 40, 50% chance of rain. But with that rain, we also have that kind of 30, 40, 50% chance of thunderstorms. And of course, as you guys know, in Colorado, those outflow winds from those thunderstorms is what basically is propelling that fire in multiple directions. This fire has been very difficult to predict because of the volatility of the wind and the speed of the wind in these canyons. And of course, as you know, the winds, when we get these outslope winds, they basically funnel in some of our steeper canyons in here. So we are going to get back. We're getting a little bit of wetness, so a little relief into the next couple of days, and I say it's kind of relative, but we are able to, and I'll let operations speak to the tactical side of taking advantage of a moderation in weather. Unfortunately, the Weather Service is looking at going right back into the hot, dry conditions, and as of July 13th, we're going right back into extremely dry conditions. Next slide. Put on the next ERC slide. I'll do that one last. I should have an ERC slide of the Oak Ridge fire. The ERC graph that I know I gave. If not, we'll go on here. Why don't you go back to the last slide then if you don't have that, because I can speak to that. I'm going to have to just kind of show you. I did make an ERC graph for the Oak Ridge fire in 2024. It started, I believe, June 21st, so it's basically close to here. The ERCs were very similar to this ERCs. They stayed up into the highs. Right around mid-July, though, that fire was getting a 1/4 inch of precipitation every couple days. There was one day that it got an inch of precipitation, and it took the ERCs down something looking like that. So it just dived them right down into the 60 percentile. And then, of course, it went up slightly, but by August 2nd, when the fire had full containment, that fire had another 1/4 inch of rain. And that happened consistently over time. That essentially allowed for the crews to get a handle on that fire. And for the rest of the year, but basically, since I don't have the slide up, I'll go ahead and use this one. I want to explain a little bit on the 60 percentile. That's usually the accepted norm in a lot of heavy fuels for essentially a threshold where either the start of fire season begins or the fire season ends. And with this, and I want you to look at this line in here. It's the average ERCs, and so for this area, the normal ERCs, and that's also happened here, was right about here, June 1st, is when the ERCs got above the 60, dried enough to get above the 60th percentile. Kind of technically, we're in the fire season, more or less, and of course, it spiked up here. We needed ignition to get a fire up here. And the average for this area, the ERCs kind of get the monsoonal rains right about in early July, in a normal year, mid-July, and there's enough, from an average standpoint, there's enough monsoonal rains to pretty much by August to keep the fire, basically the ERCs and fire hazard down in this category. But you see, there are some extreme years where we had seen ERCs up in this 97th percentile and not dive off until November. So that's why I'm not going to project when your season ender is, because we could get something that mimics that high up there. But the idea is that the ERCs do need to kind of come down and stay down to the 60 percentile, basically, for there's enough moisture in the fuels to kind of call it a quit to the fire season. So now let's go on to the next slide. All right, this is satellite imagery, Google Earth satellite imagery of both. We use infrared satellite detection, or I would say infrared fixed wing detection, and we also use satellite detection showing the heat. And this afternoon. This is the latest fire behavior, so to say, from this afternoon's flights, to give an overview of it. You guys see Colorado City down here, Rise down here, Pueblo, and Greenwood up here, Balua Valley is up here. So right now, most of our activity is in this part of the world just east of Greenwood, and it's quite a fight on hands that they're having the last few days. We are anticipated to get a little bit higher RHs tonight. That should calm that down, but when we get back into the hot and dry, essentially, so there is a lot of work left to be done up there, and I'll let Ops talk to that. The next big part of the heat, there's some heat obviously on Charlie Peak up in here, just east of or west of Rye on the mid slope. We've got some heat developing here. Expect probably to see that run a little in the next few days. And then there's a little residual heat here, what they call Division Oscar, just above in this part of the world. And a lot of the crews, and I don't want to steal the thunder from Ops, but they'll tell you about how much work has been done securing this line in here. But just to let you know that we do have a lot of heat on the landscape that's ready to essentially continue for a fair amount of time in the future. So I'll be available after for questions if you have any. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, we have a lot of folks standing, and I don't think you're aware there is overflow space in the gymnasium out here. A couple of the information officers that directed you in here can redirect you to that. I can take a slow pause here if you want to move to the other side. They did set up some extra chairs for folks. There are spaces down here in front if you want to slide in. Maybe folks could move to the center and give them a chance on the edge. There's also seats up here in the back. We'll pause a little bit here if folks want to move and grab a seat here, or head out to the overflow seating in the next gymnasium. I don't think it's where the girls were practicing. I think it's another space out there. Just want everybody to have a chance to be able to, one, be comfortable, and two, be able to hear what is being presented. A lot of folks are here to see what operations has to say and what is happening with the fire. We'll kind of let the shuffle of folks happen here. I do want to thank the school district for helping us find a venue here. We were looking at another venue that just wasn't quite going to work, didn't have the parking, didn't have the seating, and this was suggested to us by the school superintendent. Thank you very much for helping us find a very suitable venue. Nice new school. You bet. We still got some folks coming in to find a seat here. We'll give them just a few minutes. This fire has been pretty unrelenting. It's stood up and ran. Don't often see fires for 6 days just go and grow like this one has. It's been pretty unbearable. I feel for all of you who have had to put up with this. You ready to go? Here's our operations chief.
Good evening. My name is Brad Wash. I'm one of the operations section chiefs with the Alaskan Incident Management Team. I'll be honest with you, this fire actually has been a very big challenge for us for numerous reasons. When we got the call to come to Colorado, I was not looking forward to that for numerous reasons. And I kind of consider Colorado like maybe my third home. I started my fire career at Mesa Verde on the Helitack crew there, switched over to the Forest Service on the Arapahoe Roosevelt while I was doing graduate school at Colorado State University. And I love Colorado, but the last several times I've come here, it was the 5 Mile Canyon fire. 2012, the Waldo Canyon fire, then the Black Forest fire. I also was involved a little bit with the fire outside of Boulder, the I can't remember, it starts with an M, but which one? Marshall Fire, yes, thanks. So haven't had a good experience and with those fires, and you know, we need to realize that, you know, these ecosystems that we live in are largely driven by fire. I mean, historically, fire developed these ecosystems, and they've evolved because of fire. But when you get fire in the wild and urban interface, it's a new story. And when the Alaska team got ordered, there was a number of things happening. The reason why we were ordered is there were a number of large fires going on within the state. So many of the resources were already tied up to those fires. The incident management teams that are within the local area and the region were already tied up. So we knew we were coming to a situation where we were going to have difficulties as far as resources. With that, though, then you know, you heard from weather and fire behavior as far as we had multiple days of red flag warnings with hot and dry conditions. The fuels with the snowpack from this last winter being basically non-existent, you know, we came into this fire season knowing that we had great potential. And, you know, so there were a number of factors coming into that. I know you don't want to hear about why we got to where we are today. I think you probably want to hear where we're going from now. So let's look at the map, and I've had a pointer. I'll go around the map and talk a little bit about what we're looking at, the next, what's going on right now, and what we're looking at going into the future. I'll start at the top. This is actually in Greenwood and Wetmore. That's our area of biggest concern, at least today. And you got to realize fire is very dynamic, and the way the winds line up, the weather lines up, the fuels and the topography all have a major factor in what's happening on the landscape. So this area yesterday, it was holding. We had some dozer line put in place, both here and out a little farther. We had a thundercell form, and those outflow winds pushed this fire out, and it's actually beyond what's showing on this map. But so we've had to be reactionary to that. And largely early on, we were in a total defensive mode. The fire was pushing us, and we were kind of having to direct ourselves because of the fire. It wasn't like we were able to go into an offensive mode. And I feel like we're starting to switch in an offensive mode. We do have some dozer line in around this area already, so we were ready for the fire, not necessarily to come out, but we were preparing to start securing this area of the fire when it blew out. So that's where we have, and today, if you were seeing, we had a lot of air tankers doing work today. The majority of their work was up in this corner. So we've got that. That's still a concern. We feel like we're getting a handle on it, but we still don't have fire line around that fire right now. Coming across the north, Siloam in that area, there's still a little bit of heat, but we've been able to put a little more emphasis on that. One thing I also need to say, I said we had early on, we didn't have the resources. Our fire, I believe, is the #1 priority in the nation, so we have been able to get some resources coming from all parts. We've got people from, I think we've got some folks from Maine to California to Alaska here, and so we are starting to get resources where we didn't have those resources before. Coming down in this area, or Division Oscar, we still have some heat, and it was active today. We were putting some bucket work in here and having some air work, along with we've got resources on the ground. In the community here, we've got a good handle on that, but there's still little pockets of heat within the town there. You do see a little bit of black on the line. And that's basically what we're calling containment of the fire. We feel pretty comfortable that that area is secure. We don't have to put a lot of resources on that anymore. And I know some people always watch that, what percentage is contained. I think maybe they're reporting 13%. That number can be dynamic, though. So like when the other day, I think they were reporting 14%, but then when we added some acres here, it went down to 12%. So that number is going to fluctuate, and that's why one day you might see a number that looks higher than the other, but we also had a couple thousand acres added onto the fire. Coming down to Division Sierra and Division Whiskey, this area we're feeling a lot better. One of the divisions this morning was talking about, they basically were playing whack-a-mole. And just going out wherever the heat was and being reactionary to the fire. We now feel like we're having more of a systematic process. We're having crews grid through this area and finding heat. It's not just all of a sudden a smoke pops up and then we have to send someone. They're able to grid through that and really feeling pretty good in this down in the Colorado City area extending over to Ray. Rye, sorry. My map usually has the city names on them, and Rye's covered up with things, so I apologize about that. So this is where we start having, we need to start looking at the long term. And my area of expertise is more strategic planning, and have been putting a lot of effort into looking at basically we're on the forest side. And we have not really put a lot of emphasis on the Forest Service side, just because they told us those are lower priorities than people losing their homes. So we have not, and nor have we had the resources to put out here. So we have 2 areas that have gone across the 165 road. This has pretty much been in place, and St. Charles Peak, the fire's gone up to that, and it's just starting to back down. Some of the concerns up here are there's some major forest health issues. There's a lot of bug kill and that sort of thing, so we're looking at that. Our first thing, we don't want to kill a firefighter going in there trying to put out a fire. So that is a major concern in that area. By Jackson Camp, the old YMCA camp, we do have another area of fire established on the other side of 165. And we were looking really closely at that. Is it possible to go in there direct attack with resources? And I think we've had 4 hotshot crews go in there, look at it, fly over it, see if it's something that they're willing to accept as far as the risk. That's not really good country either. It's pretty steep. It's really rocky. I know if I'd go up there hiking, I'd be all beat up and maybe would have to be hauled out of there. And so what are our options with us still having fire on this backside? We did look at, there's a road system, the 360, 369 road system. We looked at, can we go in there, kind of indirect, but still put some line in there. Looking at that, again, there's a lot of dead standing and dead and down material in there. It's not a good place to fight fire. We basically have to do almost like a logging operation along that road, pulling material out of there, and then looking to maybe burn off of that. We don't feel like the probability of success would warrant us spending basically 2 weeks to work on trying to reinforce that. And even if we were able to do that, the drainage that we were looking at pulling down from up there is probably going to be compromised by this fire that's come across by the above Jackson Camp. And so with that, we are starting to look at a bigger box situation and looking at coming out to the toe of the fire. The other area, we've got the wilderness area here. Again, major forest health issues in there. It's wilderness because it's steep and rocky. You couldn't get roads in there back in the day, and that's why it's wilderness today. The Forest Service said, we don't want you to put resources in there either to get hurt. And if someone did get hurt, it would take us more than 6 hours to get someone out. You know, we like to have no more than an hour to get someone to a hospital if someone were to get injured. And today I think we had at least 2, if not 3 injuries on the fire. Nothing, they were yellow, which is kind of a moderate level. Someone tweaked a knee. We had a dehydration issue, but we always have to be wary of, if someone does get injured, how are we going to get them out and get them to higher, more definitive care? So with that, we are looking at going out. We've started putting dozer line in around the toe of the slope, around the forest basically, and we're coming all around the bottom and then coming around the back. Working with the state of Colorado, they've asked us to try to stay as close to the forest as possible. Forest is agreeable to that, of course. And, but there are a couple areas where we will hit some private land. We've also looking at how can we tie in. There's a number of the Junkins fire and that sort of thing that the fire's getting into. It's not burning aggressively. It can burn through in some areas, but trying to tie into some of those old burns, use some of those old dozer lines and kind of connect it back into here and back up to Greenwood. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as both short-term, what we're doing. I do feel we're in a lot better position. We're not out of the woods yet. And again, we're hoping, the forecast is for a couple days of moderating weather, a little more moisture, but you get a thunderstorm, and even if it puts down a 1/4 inch of rain, if that rain falls like that, it doesn't penetrate in those fuels that are super dry from last winter. And so even if you do get some precipitation, we still need to be looking at the forecast calls for hot and dry conditions going into this weekend, into the next couple of days. We need to be prepared for that and be ready with this fire becomes active. And it was very active on this front. I had a chance to fly parts of the fire today, more looking at the larger contingency line, but that's kind of what we're looking at as far as our operation going into the next, our duration here for the next 7 to, I can't even remember how many days we've been here yet, but we typically are here for 14 days, and we'll be here that full 14 days.
Thank you, Brad. Enjoyed all the updates that we've had from you and your entire team and the Sheriff's Department. My name is Ryan Ellerton. I know many of you, lots of familiar faces. I'm the General Manager at San Isabel Electric. I'm going to try to give you some information that'll be helpful. Of course, our hearts and thoughts and prayers, it all goes out to you. I was standing at Circle K watching the fire burn after I evacuated. We've got employees that were impacted. They're still working, trying to bring things on. We're working hand in hand with the local fire and sheriff and all of the local officials, incident command, and really have developed some good open communication. There are things about the grid that we know that folks coming from other places don't, that are going to affect reentry. And I just appreciate the willingness to work together and to communicate and collaborate on what's best for you when it comes to that. It started by being asked to turn off power to a lot of you, right? And those decisions were made with your safety in mind, working hand in hand with Incident Command, local level, state level, and now this national team as well. And we're starting to move in some parts of the fire to the restoration mode, okay? And my team, none of whom are here because they're all working this, has done an incredible job of working together with these teams, such that, I don't necessarily always have the most accurate information. I kind of have an idea of things that may be in the works, but they're making decisions jointly to try to help get you back, okay? That's part of the fire. The other part of the fire, and a lot of the heart of the fire, is dangerous conditions that none of us should be in. It's either an active fire or it's still smoldering. We can't get in there to assess, and we will not go in to assess until we have authorization from Incident Command, right? And that's working together to keep us all safe. At the peak, we had about a little more than 2,600 people out of power because of just gradually turning off sections from, Rye, Beulah, Wetmore, everything to the east. Just today, we restored about 300 meters. I was looking at my phone as we got here. We restored about 30 more, okay? But that is not something that any of us can easily predict. There could be rapid weather changes where we may have a restoration plan in place that gets scrapped, okay? So trying to predict that for you is something I'd love to do and communicate to you, but it's not something that I can do. We have a lot more to assess, but I do have a little bit of good news. We have 3 major substations, Beulah, Rye, Carter City, and a lot of important infrastructure that's either delivering or protecting, depending on what its role is. And the majority of that is in very good shape. The transmission line that runs from Carter City to Beulah, essentially unscathed. So that aids in the restoration effort, okay? We don't have any poles timped on there that we're worried about something might happen to them. That's a very important line section that was unscathed. But as I said, we've got a lot more to assess, and so to create a timeline for any of you is going to be difficult. What I'm going to do, though, when we're done, I'm going to try to, if you've got some individual questions, I'll stay here as long as you'd like. I may not be able to give you any real answers, okay? But I'll do the best I can. You're the member owners of this cooperative, and so I will do the best I can. There's 3 ways to contact us: 800-279-SIEA 7432. Email, contact us at siea.com. And now I'm blanking on the last one. But it's what we kind of specialize. I'm not blanking on it. It's what we kind of specialize as a co-op that I hope when we get all through this, we'll see that we have 3 area offices that we want to serve you. If you want to come in and talk to us, come in and talk to us. You can call us, you can email us, but you can also come in and talk to us. So let's talk about getting back into your home. Some of you are in a different place than others, right? Some of you that's a ways off. Some of you that might be, imminent. If you get back there because you're authorized to be back there, because law enforcement and incident command has said you can go back there, you most likely have power, okay? But that is not a guarantee because the lines can't always be drawn perfectly to follow the electric lines, okay? So if you're authorized to return and you get back there and you don't have power, please give us a call. It could be that you're not going to have power for a while, even though you are authorized to return, or it could be that there could be an outage situation affecting you, okay? If you are on the kind of the fringes, you're a long way from the actual fire, right? But you're impacted by an outage, okay? It's a couple things that could have happened. We may have been directed to shut off power to a line section that actually feeds you, right? It may be coming from a place that we haven't been able to, any of us, get into assess yet that actually feeds you. There's a lot going on there. There may not be any damage, but it may be a place we just haven't got to assess yet. If you're inside the fire area and your property's been damaged, your home has been damaged or lost. We're here to answer your questions. I'll give you a couple of answers, right? It's an emotional thing, and you may know or you may not know for a long time what you want to do with that property, right? If you do decide to rebuild, depending on where it is, it might be something that we can do quickly to get you energized, and it might be something that's going to take some time, okay? Even things like getting you power for the purpose of construction could be something that happens quickly, or it could be something that takes some time. And that's all depending on where you are, where the feeds are, and all those types of things. When you get to that point, the more we progress in this, we'll probably be able to give you more information, but not until we've patrolled the majority of the burn scar. If you do choose to rebuild and you're in that same location, from a cost perspective, that's system maintenance. It's not something you would be charged for. Now, if you choose to rebuild and you've got a few acres and you're going to move from this side to this side, then there may be some direct costs to you for that. So when you're ready, give us a call, come see us, send us an email. As I said, I'll be available in the lobby. If you've got some specific questions, I'll certainly do my best. Information is vague right now. Incredibly grateful for everyone involved and every one of you for your patience. Our team started working kind of mid-morning July 4th. We called them in. We didn't think we were going to have much to do, but the incident command team, everybody involved there, really getting on it and got us in. So we called them in. They started working about 9 o'clock on July 4th. Sunday, they went to work at 6. Today, they went to work at 6. They're either working 12 or 16-hour days, kind of depending on the wind and the weather. We're bringing in crews from the outside. We've got some direct access to our material supplier, to some emergency supplies if we need that. So we're doing what we can. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Lucero. I'm the Pueblo County Sheriff. Today is day 7. This has been a long road, and I was going to prepare remarks like I have traditionally been doing for press conferences, trying to get as much information, but I decided to go off the cuff a little bit tonight. I tried to put myself in your shoes. If I was displaced out of my house and didn't know what the future was going to look like, do I have a home? Do I not have a home? I'll tell you, I've been up at that fire since day 1, up and down that mountain, all over 12 Mile, Beulah side, Colorado City, Rye side, up to Siloam Road. And it's indiscriminate. Some of the residents I see, the fire goes right up to it. Others, it's completely untouched. But I could imagine that you would want answers. You want to know, is my property still there? Do I still have a house? You heard Ryan talking about that, and those were the things, those obstacles that we faced. This fire is still active. It's still moving. I've seen it go one direction one day and then double back and come right back down and burn another area. Homes that I thought were safe when I left that night, I would come back and they were touched by fire the next day. So it is completely unpredictable on when you're going to be allowed in. Now, we have identified some of those areas that was spoken about earlier that we are going to allow some reentry. I want to talk a little bit about that process and some of the shortfalls that we're experiencing with our partners, with my staff, as we're trying to get you guys reenter back into your properties. So you've heard the DAC, the Disaster Assistance Center. That's where you will take some form of identification so we can vet you and verify that you are who you say you are and get you a card so that when you go through a traffic control point or a TCP, you're verified. And when your area it will be announced. We're utilizing social media and those press conferences at I believe it's every other day at 3:30 to communicate information to the public. Today we saw a huge rise in the DAC because of some information that was going out there. Misinformation that today was the last day that the DAC was going to be open. That was false. I would point you guys to look for reliable sources. Look to the sheriff's page. Look to our the incidents page so that you can get that information when we identify an area that we're able to look at. Currently, it's part of Colorado City that we're already allowing entry into, as well as Water Barrel Road on the other side. So those areas, there's going to be limited access. So if you have your re-entry card, you go to the checkpoint, or you can call the JIC and verify your address, and you'll be told if you're allowed to re-enter your residence or your property. That's key for us. That's important to keep accountability and safety for our staff, for you all. But there's another number of factors that go into this DAC. And speaking with Director Avitz with the Health Department, water quality. If you're on a well, the firefighters have been dipping in the lakes, streams, so that's a big concern, making sure that you have water, that it's drinkable. So I know that they are providing water testing kits out of the DAC, so I would encourage you to look for that. Other thing will be food safety. If you guys did lose power, didn't have backup generators, you're probably going to have some rotting food in your freezers. Roll-offs have been deployed as we start restoring and allowing re-entry into those areas. So utilize those dumpsters to take any and discard any of that food that may have spoiled. We are expanding some of those hours at the DAC. We're going to open from 9 o'clock we're opening tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And that's just going to be for the card services only until 11 a.m. And then at 11 a.m. we're going to open for the rest of the services that are provided through the DAC. But we felt it was important. We heard in our afternoon Emergency Operations Center brief today that that's what you all were concerned about. So we want to make sure that you guys get those cards as timely and as quickly as possible. So with that, it can be a long road. I've been asked, well, are we going to get back next week? Are we going to get back in 2 days? I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball that I could tell you, but you need to know that your sheriff's office, your first responders, our federal partners, our state partners are all working to get you guys back home and hopefully to a sound structure. I'll finish with this last thing, going back to putting myself in your shoes and wanting to know, do I have a home if I can't get into the area to assess it? Certainly, the process is to do a proper assessment of those properties, make sure that it's clear. We can definitively say if it was savable or if it was destroyed. But preemptively, in what we did, we worked with the Forest Service, with the IC. We put a drone up this morning in Beulah for Pine Drive, the town of Beulah, and North Creek. So we're working on condensing those so at least you would get an aerial view and you can assess from there. If you see a property on your land you believe is yours, call the JIC with your information and we can verify if it's a loss. We've tried to have that personal touch where we're reaching out directly to people to tell them the news, focusing on those that have lost properties. What we found, though, is a lot of the lists that we have had landlines to it, to the homes. So we may not have accurate information for you. So if you'll look online, we have the app. It's called the, Chief, have to help me, or Brian, what the name of the app. It's on the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office Facebook. I'll think of it when I walk off this stage, but that's the best way for you guys to put the latest information in there so that we have that to contact you if we need to. I'm sorry you all are going through this, but we're here to help you and get us back to the new norm. I'll be outside as well to answer some questions afterwards, and thank you and God bless.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Lobiondo, and I work for the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control. And I just want to talk briefly about how the state becomes involved in a wildland incident such as this one. Many of you may not know, a little history lesson, but the county sheriff is the fire warden for the county in Colorado. And that is been that way since 1903. It's a 123-year-old. It started as a legal foundation through a legislative act. It's currently in statute now, but essentially what that says is if a fire exceeds the capability of the county sheriff to control or extinguish, they can reach out to the state of Colorado for assistance through the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control. That took place here on this incident very early on Monday morning, the 29th, and that was approved, and that allowed us the opportunity to order a lot of the resources and the incident management teams that we've needed to come in and help us try to get around this incident. So lots of resources have been ordered. I think we have over 1,500 firefighters on this incident that have come, like they've said, from all over the place. They've brought a lot of help for us, and there's even more on the way. We may top out at maybe 1,700 or 1,800 firefighters, which is quite a bit, speaking that there's a lot of other incidents going on in the state of Colorado that are also needing those resources. So things are helpful there. The state also has multiple departments and divisions from around the state that are assisting with this incident, and we will all continue to do so until that need really isn't there anymore. So I'll be around to answer questions too, and we appreciate all the relationships we built with the local cooperators. They've done a lot of really good work, your local fire departments, early on, and I'm glad we've gotten to the point where we can relieve them so they can do their day job and let the folks that have come in help us get around this thing and get it finished up. So thanks for your time.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Neal. I'm the Forest and Grassland Supervisor for the Pike San Isabel National Forest, Cimarron Comanche National Grasslands. And just want to start by expressing my condolences to the folks that have lost their homes and their property. I've taken a drive, and it is pretty sobering to go up and over the 12-mile area into Beulah. And so I appreciate just the loss that you must be feeling, and it's going to be with us for a while. I do want to give a hats off to the interagency cooperation that we've had. It's been great working with the local, county, and state folks. I think that's been a real strength of this incident, is bringing us together and having that good communication and coordination. I know that particularly, Chief Ware and Chief Mears and others have been spending a lot of sleepless nights, and just appreciate their sacrifice as well. I think, besides the folks that have been evacuated, and the folks that have lost. I know that a lot of you have fond memories on the National Forest and other areas, and so I just want to appreciate that as well, and know that that is tough to deal with. We have a lot of employees on the forest that are displaced as well, and but thankfully none of them have lost what some of the others have lost so far. You know, I think that fire is going to be on this summer, and unfortunately this is not the last team we're going to have on this fire. I think we're going to have a succession of these complex incident management teams come to the forest, and just really appreciate your patience and support, and just stay safe, and hopefully we don't have other fires this summer. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Pitts. My day job is the Deputy Forest Supervisor on the Pike San Isabel. On this incident, I'm in a role of what's called the Agency Administrator. So my role is to work directly with the team and our other partners in, like I say, oversight, local coordination, just that overall engagement and kind of those local eyes, if you will, for working directly with the team. There's a few themes that have come up tonight. Specifically around this fire, thinking about the challenge. This fire has been a challenge from day one. This fire is not like the Oak Ridge fire. This fire is not like the St. Charles fire. This fire isn't even like Junkins. This fire is a monster. And this thing is absolutely doing what it wants to do. This is a tough firefight. We recognize that as the Forest Service. That's why we have supported our local partners and communities in identifying that the priority is the communities. The priority is Chief Ware and Beulah. The priority is Rye and you all that live and have property in Rye. The forest we will deal with when the time comes. Right now, our focus is how do we support our communities? How do we support our neighbors? I said this is a challenge. Team, I'll say SoCo, right? So this is a Southern Colorado issue. Team SoCo is meeting up with Team Alaska, and we are coming to support you all, people from all over this great state, our neighbors are coming to support us. Like I say, even folks from Alaska. The thing about this fire is it is going to be with us for a long time. It's going to be with us all summer. Eventually the rains will come, and that will come a different threat. And we're going to have to work through that as well. Right now the focus needs to be on the fire and what we can do to stop this fire. And there's been some plans laid out. No, there's a primary plan, there's some contingency plans. But I can tell you the fire is probably going to get bigger. This is tough country. It's a rugged country. And what that also means is that the firefight takes place in our communities. And that just means that there's added increased risk. It also means that you may be not able to go home for a while, and as this fire moves around the mountain, it's going to impact others. And I just want to be clear. We're working as a team. This is a heck of a team. It's Pueblo County, it's Custer County, it's Fremont County, it's Huerfano County. It's the state of Colorado. It's the federal partners coming in as well, the BLM, the Forest Service. And we're going to do our best to protect the communities. But it's going to be tough. And it's going to be a hard fight. Ryan mentioned, as many of you know, the Forest Service is in the same communities, and we have employees just like you who are displaced. The district ranger here at San Carlos Ranger District, Destiny Chapman, can't be with us tonight because she's been evacuated too. So we know what it's like to go through this. I know what it's like to go through this. My family's been evacuated 2 different times. So we understand. We also understand that your friends, neighbors are impacted, and we are here to help. One thing that I have learned, and I'll share this with you all, in my two times of being evacuated, we're a hunting family, and we've lost meat in our deep freeze, come back to that mess, but I've not had to buy a new deep freeze because of a little trick that I learned, which is wood pellets. I would highly recommend, if you can find the wood pellets that are ponderosa pine or a pine mix, they're the best. But you take out all that nasty, yucky, yeah, it's bad smelling. Some of you know that, right? And dump a 40-pound bag of wood pellets in there. If you got a bigger deep freeze, it may take 2 of those bags. But I promise you, you let that stuff soak up all that muck, you'll be able to use your deep freeze again. So that's my public service message. It's from speaking from personal experience on that, so I do know that the trick works. But I do want you to know, and I'll leave you with this. You got the team here. SoCo plus AK is a win. But we're going to need some time to take this monster and put it under control. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Jake Livingston, IC with Alaska Team 1. Since we're operating in your communities, I just want to talk a little bit about who we are. So the Alaska team, there are a lot of Alaskans on it, but there's also a lot of people from other states throughout the whole United States. When Alaska moderates and gets enough rain where the fire managers feel comfortable with releasing us, we go available nationally so we can respond to incidents like this, and then that's how we got here. Our job here is to really build an organization that can contain this fire. We've got day shift, night shift, we've got hotshot crews, Type 2 crews, engines, dozers, a whole assortment of aircraft that we're using, both helicopter, water scoopers, and retardant planes. We are actively and aggressively engaging this fire. Our priorities are life and property, people's residences. Those are our priorities. Firefighter safety would be another high priority. So we're being real careful with what we do when we're engaging this fire, because as you know, it moves fast and responds quickly to changes in weather. We have ordered a lot of resources. Our numbers are increasing every day. Since I left the command post there, I'm sure the numbers have increased more than what I know. I know we have slightly over 1,500, but as mentioned before, heading up toward that 1,900 mark. We have established some anchor points on the fire. On that east side, we're making good progress there. We're progressing around it, heading up toward that higher country, up in those timbered land off the more desert fuel type. We do have some challenges up on that northwest corner and then several other areas as mentioned. We do have some challenges, also was touched on. Hot, dry weather. We've got terrain. We've got wind, either just like general wind coming up over the mountains and down, as was witnessed when this fire started. But those thunderstorms we're really keeping an eye on those. Those as they move through, strong outflow winds, and then it all changes direction as that storm moves through. I just want to mention that another thing that's in the back of our mind with these thunderstorms is if they dump a lot of rain, we're worried about mudslides, so just please keep that in the back of your mind. We're thinking about that too. Another challenge would just be the size of this fire. It's a really large footprint, right? Just under 92,000 acres. So if you go around the perimeter, that's, probably over 100 miles of edge there at least. And it's active, right? Still growing in certain areas, but we have to access all that perimeter and have people organize around it. It's still active. It has a lot of potential, right? So we're keeping a close eye on the weather, mostly winds and thunderstorms like I mentioned. But we're not getting complacent, for sure. We're going to stay vigilant in that respect. Our firefighters and support personnel out there operating in your communities, they recognize the stress and impacts that have resulted from this fire. So just we appreciate your impacts. We definitely recognize the effort from the local fire departments and the sheriff department. Certainly over those first couple days when the fire was moving very rapidly, 24 hours a day, I would note, and some of these individuals were actively engaging, protecting other people's homes when theirs were even being, impacted in a negative way. So that's impressive to see. Definitely appreciate your support and hospitality that we've received so far since we've been here. And really, I think I'll just end with that. I'd like to just spend more time being available for questions out in the question area. But anyway, I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Okay, I got a few items here, a little bit of house cleaning. It is the Crisis Track app that the sheriff was struggling to remember there. You can find links to that on the Pueblo County's website. Stick with the official information from the county's websites. Stick with your sheriff department's websites and Facebook pages from each of your counties. They're sharing the information that you need, that's accurate, that's going to help you. Look at the fire's Facebook page. We're sharing the information that you need. Please stick with the official websites. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Just beware. The Emergency Operations Center in Pueblo is coordinating with the other counties to help these other counties around so that you can call there and get the information that you need no matter what county you're from. We have a call line, an info line with a call center set up for fire information on the fire. If we can't answer your question, we can redirect you where you can find that information. Please be patient. It's very complicated. There's a lot of information being offered on this fire. Donations are appreciated, but please send them where they're most needed. There's a lot of affected families out here. Those people are where donations need to go. That's who needs the help. It's not the firefighters. This is what we do. We're here to help you. We're prepared to come here and to help you. Please think of your neighbors, think of your friends who's been impacted by this. Think of your fire departments. There's a lot of small fire departments out here, many of them volunteer, living on a shoestring budget. This is where your donations need to go. Those were the first responders that showed up to save your property. And like Jake was saying, they were fighting fire while many of their own homes were being compromised. These are the people who need those donations, need that help. We do appreciate all the folks that are online joining us. There's going to be slides continuing that the various speakers used. That's going to be a scroll after the end of the video presentation so that you can be able to pause and be able to see much clearer what those slides were the speakers were speaking to. It is being recorded. It's going to be available online. All y'all that's here in the auditorium that may have missed some parts, want to go back to it, it's going to be available to you. We'll continue to answer the questions that come up on the page even as time goes on. The one we had Friday night, thousands of comments and questions. We're still working through those. We are planning for another community meeting on Thursday. I'm looking for a venue on the west side of the fire. As soon as we get that nailed down, we'll certainly make those announcements so that we can go to that side of the fire and reach those folks over there that are being impacted. So I really thank those folks that have joined us online. We appreciate you being here. We'll let you know when the next presentation is going to be. We will continue with the video operation updates, one in the morning, one in the evening. There's not one for this evening because we're here with this. So I just want to say thank you all for your patience.